So Sony might have something planned for their Spider-Man adjacent universe with Madame Webb, Kraven, Venom, although Venom The Last Dance is supposed to be the final Venom film, but who knows at this point. But their plans for their Spider-Verse could be so catastrophic. It could be so bad that I don't think they even get halfway through what they could possibly have planned. And if these new rumors that we are hearing are true about what Sony has planned, I really hope it's the final end to this Spider-Man adjacent universe. Now, I originally thought that Venom 3, The Last Dance, with all of the rumors going around about Knull and Venom possibly going over to Spider-Man 4 in the MCU, I thought that, hey, maybe Sony has possibly learned and they've realized that the characters that they own do not work with whatever universe that they are building without Spider-Man. And honestly, if they did the movies themselves with Spider-Man, they probably still wouldn't work. Look, I saw Venom 3 The Last Dance and I actually enjoyed it because going into the movie, I knew what it was going to be. I did not expect it to be a great movie and I just relaxed, shut my mind off, and I had a good time. Is it a great movie by any means? No. Could you even call it a good movie? Depends on your definition of good. And it is just littered with plot holes throughout the entire movie. I had a fun, good time watching it. I'm glad I saw it, but this proves that Sony just doesn't know how to handle these characters. So when the possibility of Sony bringing those characters over to the MCU and letting Marvel Studios have those characters kind of came up with these rumors with Knull and Venom and Spider-Man 4, I was really happy and I thought, foolishly, that Sony might have learned their lesson and had figured out that they can't make these movies, at least not well. I had a glimmer of hope for that, but as it turns out, if this is all true, I was completely wrong, and in fact, it's the opposite of what they're going to do. Now, this isn't confirmed, thankfully, but it is coming from a report from an insider, and that report states that Knull isn't actually setting up Spider-Man 4, but Knull is actually setting up a Sinister 6 movie inside of the Sony Spider-Man adjacent universe. About a week and a half ago, the insider My Time to Shine Hello stated, "I hear Sony is working on a Sinister 6 movie again," which she posted to Twitter/X. Then yesterday, she posted this: "Sony has some terrible plans for Knull. Be very afraid." And it's also worth noting that a few days ago she posted that it didn't seem like Knull and Venom were actually going to be in Spider-Man 4 anymore. And to be fair, Tom Holland did say that they are working on the script and there are a few things they have to get right. So they are actively changing this script each day. So the rumors that we heard before about Knull and Venom being in Spider-Man 4 could have been true at one point in time. They still could be true because some insiders like Alex Perez says that's still what he's hearing is going to happen. But knowing Sony, knowing how Sony is, it makes way more sense that they would actually be introducing Knull to set up other Sony Spider-Verse movies. Spider-Verse movies that aren't actually going to have Spider-Man in them. But instead, it seems like Sony is still going through with their Sinister 6 film, which they have been trying to make for a very long time. Amy Pascal, during the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, she even still said that eventually we would get this movie. Now, that was years ago at this point, but it sounds like they're dead set on making this film. And it sounds like the Sinister 6 are actually going to be somewhat of an Avengers type hero team that are going to take on Knull. This is what some people are thinking based on all of these reports from these insiders. And a lot of people are now picking up on this. A title of an article by Fiction Horizon states, "Knull isn't paving the way for Spider-Man 4, he's setting up a Sinister 6 movie." And I gotta tell you, if this does happen, I hate this, but sadly at the same time, it may actually be what needs to happen for Sony to finally understand something very important. Two things, actually. One is you can't have all of these Spider-Man characters in movies without Spider-Man. It just doesn't work. Venom is kind of the exception, but the Venom movies were never really fantastic movies. They're fun, and I definitely enjoy them and have a good time, but they're certainly not on the same level as other superhero movies. So that's one, they can't make these movies without Spider-Man, but two is they just simply don't do these movies well. I mean, that was kind of the whole reason we got Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU, is because Amy Pascal went to Kevin Feige for help with The Amazing Spider-Man 3 because the first two didn't do well, and Kevin Feige straight up told her, you can't do it, it's not gonna work, let us do Spider-Man. And after Amy Pascal got pissed off, kicked him out of his office, she eventually realized he was right. And that is the very brief story of how we got Spider-Man in the MCU. So you think they would kind of know at this point in time, but they continued to make these other movies thinking that they would work even though they don't have Spider-Man in them. And now if they are pushing forward with all of these movies that they are setting up, having the characters from these movies come together to fight somebody as big as Knull, that's gonna fail before they get to Knull. Look, Kraven looks better than most of their films, and I could probably say right now that it's gonna be better than Madame Webb and Morbius, but that's really not saying much at all. Kraven could actually be a good movie, but I don't think it's gonna save their universe by any means. And what else would they have coming up? Who else are they going to set up? Are they gonna bring in Doc Ock? Are they gonna bring in the Green Goblin? If they do we really expect them to do any good with them? And even if they were minorly successful in doing this, what makes them think that this group of characters in a Sinister Six could take on Knull? Like that post-credit scene for Morbius where Michael Keaton's Vulture showed up and just kind of was like, oh yeah, maybe it was Spider-Man that got me to this universe here, I don't even know. Like he literally says, I'm not sure how I got here, I think it has something to do with Spider-Man, but a bunch of us guys should team up and we could do some good. Now, good to a bad person is obviously not the normal type of good, but is this what Sony is really setting up? They think Vulture and Morbius, along with Kraven the Hunter and possibly Madame Webb, are going to take on Knull, a character who in the comics, when he launched his full-on assault against Earth to get the Codex, who was in Eddie Brock's son in the comics, literally it took the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, basically everybody to fight Knull. So they're going to go from that story with all of those insanely powerful groups to a story about the Sinister Six taking on Knull. I pray this is not the case, and if anybody from Sony is listening, I beg you, don't do this. Or on the other hand, do it, because I think if you implement this plan and try to work your way up to Knull, you don't get there. I think all the movies bomb. I think the fans get pissed off once they realize what the plan actually is building up to Knull. Then I think it goes so poorly that there will just be no other choice but to just stop it all. Then maybe they'll consider starting over and possibly doing a universe with Spider-Man in it, or just simply continue to license these characters over to Marvel and let them do it. This is very scary because out of all the things that we've been hearing, the one thing that is confirmed by the execs at Sony, by the director of Venom 3: The Last Dance, is that Knull, this is just the beginning for him. They have a lot more projects with Knull coming up. And I'm not necessarily one of the people who really wants Knull to appear in Spider-Man 4, but I definitely think it would be a lot better than whatever they have planned in their own universe. And there are definitely ways to make Knull and Venom in Spider-Man 4 work, especially since the release date for Spider-Man 4 is confirmed now. It's coming in July of 2026. So this is definitely happening between Doomsday and Secret Wars, which basically does confirm that it is going to be a multiverse film. It kind of has to, since it's going to be between those two films. So if we're not getting a grounded Spider-Man street level film and we are getting a multiversal one, sure, throw Knull in there, bring Venom in there, bring the other Spider-Man back, sure. Just write a good story for it all and let Marvel Studios handle it completely. But based off of things that we are hearing, and hopefully they're not true, but based off of the rumors, this could be what Sony has planned. And I really hope it's not the case, because I'm not really sure anybody wants to see a weird Sinister Six team take on Knull, the symbiote god, creator of the symbiotes, the eldritch god of darkness, wielder of the all-black necro sword. There's just no way Vulture, Kraven, Morbius, Madame Webb, and whoever else they have get in there are going to be able to take him on. Not in any serious way, that is, but that's just my very frustrating thoughts right now about this whole situation. Let me know your thoughts about this. Again, it's not confirmed, but if this were to happen, what would you think about this? Do you think there's any way it could possibly work? And if you do, please let me know how. Go ahead, leave all your thoughts about this in the comments down below. If you love Marvel, be sure to subscribe. We do daily Marvel updates on the channel, and I rant like this every now and then as well, while still updating you. Thanks for indulging me. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.